guys, if you don't know me, my name is Jake, and the channel you're watching, 787 Dude, is all about planes and aviation. And in today's video, I am going to be explaining what is the difference between a domestic flight and an international flight. So yeah, let's get into the video. Now, you may have heard these terms before, domestic flight, international flight, but they might have been used in a different way to what they actually mean. For example, some people believe that a domestic flight is a flight that is in the same continent. Not far off, but not close at all in the same sense. And then I'll also be explaining what an international flight is. And now you've probably heard of an international flight a lot more than you've heard of domestic flight, and you've probably actually gone on an international flight more than you have a domestic flight. So yeah, let me get started with one that you're probably not gonna be as familiar with. I've got loads of notes, so I'm set for this video. I'm just gonna read off here because it's just easier. So the purpose and the definition of a domestic flight is a flight that pretty much does not leave the country. So say you take off in England and you land in England, for example, that could be London to Manchester or Manchester to Newcastle. It could be any flight as long as it don't leave the same country on. So, in America, you go all to all different states and all different airports. It's a domestic flight. In Singapore, you go through all this. It just go anywhere as long as it stays in the country that it's in. So it's Spain. It could go from Barcelona to Madrid, or Barcelona to Malaga or Malaga to Madrid. It could be anything. But a domestic flight is a flight that literally takes off from one country, lands in the same country, the exact same country. And for these flights, you don't even need your passport. You could literally just take a government issued ID. That's for adult children because they don't have them. Then you're gonna have to bring a passport, but it shows that even to travel on a plane, something that you think every time you travel on a plane, passport, passport, passport. I need my passport every single time. For domestic flights, if you're above the age of 18, you don't. But what is the actual purpose of a domestic flight? Why did someone go, why don't we make a flight, domestic flights, that only leave, that only take off and land in the same country? Well, there's loads of different reasons. Domestic flights were literally used for businessmen to get from anywhere around the country. Instead of driving, which takes loads of time, they can just fly. And that's what's really good about flying, is because flying takes like 10 times less amount of time than driving in a car. So like if a businessman wants to go from, trying to think, London City, for example, right into London, and needs to be in, let's just say, Manchester. Oh, I can use Manchester. An hour to get there, and that's in an hour. They can get from London to Manchester really quick. Where in a car, that's probably what, 4-5 hours in a car. So obviously a lot longer, about 5 times as long. Now you may say, oh wow, you have to be at an airport this time before, and blah blah blah. But really, on smaller flights and smaller planes, sometimes you can be a bit closer up. But some purpose of domestic flight is just for normal people like us. I went from London Heathrow to Manchester. That's why I've used that example so many times already in the 4 minutes that this video has been going on for. And it saved us 5 hours, and you get more time in the places, and so yeah. But also in smaller, maybe rural places, a bit out of the way, maybe like cities in Africa and stuff, they actually use domestic flights just to get around, like everyday thing, maybe to get to work or to get anywhere. They just use little airlines with little tiny planes, that they just travel, get people from, say, their local airport at home to their local airport of work. So I'm going to read the definition that I've got. So domestic flights are used to go from city to city or even connect small towns and regional airports. Sorry. So it's connect small towns and regional airports, which are like really small airports. Sometimes even used for people just to get to work, like I've already said. Although domestic flights can range from 80 seconds to 12 hours. Yes, I know, and I'll talk about that in a minute. So 80 seconds to 12 hours, and you think, well, that's a massive like gap difference, right? That's what, like 11 hours, 58 seconds and 40 no, 11 hours, 58 minutes and 40 seconds difference, right? That is a really long time, right? And yes, that is. And that is 80 seconds is actually held by Scotland, one of the Scottish islands, like right at the top. Papa Westray and Westray, they hold the shortest domestic flight in the whole entire world. It lasts about 80 seconds. Loganair operates it, so the Scottish airline, Loganair, the Scottish international like flag carrier, holds that title. 80 seconds. You take off, you land. You know that thing where people say, "Oh well, it's an hour flight." Once you took off, you'll come back land again. That is actually what happens in this flight. It's so small, 80 seconds. There's loads of videos all on YouTube. I'd love to do this flight. It's all the way from Scotland, It'd be more expensive. Logan does the flights for £8. To actually get there, it'd be a lot more, right? Um, People have done this all like they timed it. The average about 80 seconds, but it can be as low as a minute. So, even lower than that. Now, if you're to have a good guess, the 12 hours, well, you've got a few options like Canada, America, or Russia. And you'd be correct in saying America. Obviously, I'm sure you could take a plane for longer than 12 hours over Russia. East coast to west coast. Well, not really coast, but east end to west end. Right. But there's just no airports. There's no routes that actually do that. So, but the longest domestic flight that you can actually take is 12 hours, operated by Delta on the A330s normally. And it's so long that they actually have Delta One. And you may be wondering, where's this flight? This flight is, I'm pretty sure, it definitely starts from Honolulu in Hawaii, and I'm pretty sure it ends in Boston. That I'm pretty sure it ends in Boston. Yeah, I think it does. I think it ends in Boston, but it's 12 hours long, operated by Delta. It's the longest domestic flight ever. No, not the longest flight, but it's quite long. I could fly to Singapore in that time, and people haven't even left the country. And for this flight, if you're an American citizen, you can bring an ID. You literally just bring your American ID, and that you don't even need a passport for a 12-hour flight. And that is the longest domestic flight, sorry, that you can take. Which pretty long flight, right? For a domestic flight, for a flight that you're not even gonna leave the country for, that's a really long flight. Um, but that is the difference, actually, and people think that know what a domestic flight is. They think, oh well, city to city, right? It's gonna be a small flight. Well, in America, maybe not. In America, they can have 5 hour, 6 hour, 7 hour, 8 hour, 9 hour, up to 12 hours domestic flights. On all different planes. Normally, people would associate a domestic flight with a small plane like an A320, 737, A319, something like that. Domestic domestic flights maybe in America, well, they could be on 787s, A350s, 777s, A330s, anything like that. Massive planes, humongous planes. Um, Two of them are. I've seen an A330, and I've been on an A330 at an event. They're not as big as you think they are. Same with 787s as well. They're not as big as you think they are. But 777s Um, Definitely Dash 300s and A350s, massive planes, really big. So yeah, that is pretty much the difference between a domestic flight in the UK and other smaller countries to America, and that's what a domestic flight is. And then an international flight. Now, if you were to guess what a domestic flight is, you can probably work out what an international flight is, and you would be correct in saying it's a flight that takes off from one country and lands in another country. So, like London to Barcelona or London to Miami or something like that. They're both flights I've taken. Um, if you could guess. But yeah, like any flight that leaves one country, that takes off from one country and arrives in another country. So that could be anywhere, you know. And international flights can range up to, God knows, I don't know the smallest international flight. If I was to guess it, it'd literally be like a flight that just goes over the border. So an airport really close to the border, and then an airport really close to the border as well. Don't know where it'd be. I don't have that information on me. I mean, I could probably find out. Let me just check. What is... Okay, so where I have got it, it's 15 to 20 minutes long. So a bit longer than the shortest domestic flight. It goes from the Republic of Congo and the Democratic. Huh? Okay, I'm not sure. If you want to find out, search it up in your own time. Um, yeah, I'd have to look at that a bit longer. But yeah, so that's saying 15 to 20 minutes. If that's right or wrong, I don't know. Fact check it yourself. Fact check it yourself. But international flights, they can range up to as long as, I think, I mean, non-stop from London to Australia is 19 hours, and they do that flight. So I'm going to go with 19 hours, but I think there's one a bit longer from somewhere else. Oh, yeah, but anyway, so 19 hours, and that's really long, right? But only 7 more hours longer than that longest domestic flight. So I don't know. So yeah, so international flight. What is the purpose of an international flight? Is to connect countries together by air travel, really. So people can go from one country to another country as easy as taking a plane. If you think that's easy or not, that's your view. But yeah, so yeah, it connects different countries. Also, allows people to get around. And for these flights, anyone will need their passport. You cannot fly on an international flight without a passport. I mean, unless you're quite like a president or a quick king or queen, and maybe probably can, but yeah. But all I say regular people, I mean like normal people, like working class people, will have, well, I don't know how I word it. Everyone needs a passport when they go on an international flight. We'll just say that. So it's confusing. I don't think there's like a president of any country watching my videos. If there is, comment down below. But I'm pretty sure there's not. Anyway, and if they are watching, they've probably not made it this far into the video to actually be here and listen to that. But if you have made it this far into the video, then I give you a really big thanks. And why don't you go like and subscribe, because you're obviously liking this channel enough to stay on for 14 and a half minutes. So I'll give you some time to think about that. Anyway, so yeah, international flight, it can connect all countries by airlines and air travel, which is great, really, because it means that we can explore the world. Back in, let's say, the olden days, back in a couple hundred years ago, they didn't have that. They pretty is either boat or you stayed in your own little neighborhood that you grew up in. Unless you lived on the coast or stuff like that. But anyway, So yeah, it connects people, and a lot more major airports like Heathrow and stuff like that. But that's more thingy and stuff like that. So I haven't got a lot of information on international flights. I mean, I didn't actually write like that's what I wrote domestic because I can explain domestic a bit less than I can international. But really, to sum up international, a flight that leaves one country to another country, you need your passport. Normally on bigger planes, sometimes obviously domestic flights can still be on the same planes that you do for international flights. But yeah, excuse me. So now we've done that. I'm actually going to put international flights and domestic flights back to back. As you can see here, I've got another page. I don't expect you to be able to understand my handwriting. So, what is the back to back? I'm going to read all of these and then give you what is different between two. Most things are the same, but some things are different. Seems like a lot on here, but these are like, yeah. Okay. Oh. It's quite hard to read my own writing sometimes. Okay, so here. The back-to-back difference or a domestic flight and an international flight. So the first thing, border cost. Like I've already covered, no borders cost in a domestic flight. Maybe even loads and loads. 2 or more borders cost in an international flight. Documents. Government ID / driver's license. I put it on now because I believe there's a few flights where you can just take your driving license. But that's for a domestic flight and an international flight, passport, and maybe a visa on depending what country you've come from and what country you're going to. Airport terminal. This might seem a bit, is there really? Because I've never flown out of an airport with a domestic terminal. But in some airports, a lot of American airports and other countries' airports, not so much as England. Yes, there are domestic terminals just for flights that leave from that is going and landing in the same country. Sometimes you get loads of the same airline there. Sometimes, and other times you just get loads of different airlines there. But there are domestic terminals, although in loads and loads of UK airports, they're just normal terminal. They just fly out of the normal terminal. BA done. Terminal 5 A gates because if you look normally, if you just look at a map of like if you look when all the planes are there and stuff, you'll find Terminal A, B, and C. Terminal A, A320s, A319s, A321s, like all of that. Terminal B and C, A380s, 787s, 777s, A350s. You get the point. That I've actually named all the other ones that they have. They only operate 9 planes. They used to operate 11. Then they got rid of. But that's another video. What BA fleet is. I already made one. I mean, they're quite old and outdated. They weren't that true, but so yeah, sometimes have a domestic terminal on some airports. Manchester, if you have a domestic flight over Manchester, you normally go from Terminal 3, and Terminal 1 and 2 are for international flights and bigger planes and stuff like that. But yeah, Ryanair flies out loads and loads of Terminal 3. It's where they fly mainly. Okay, so that's the difference between. So you can get domestic terminals in some bigger airports, and not as much as England. Some airports like Manchester I've just named, and international terminals for obviously international flights where you get loads and loads of planes and loads of very airlines. Security. This is a bit So when you go on any plane, you're gonna have to go through security. Maybe TSA if you call it in America, United States, Yankees. But yeah. But in England we just call it security. I don't know how I said that in England. But yeah, that's what we call it. Americans. TSA, don't actually know what that stands for. Please tell me. Comment down below if you're American. So yeah, standard checks, just normal security checks. But for an international flight, more checks like immigration, customs, so that's more like American, and Border Force in like English. So yeah, like loads and loads. Like, oh, can I see your passport, please? Thank you. Into the country you go. Thank you for visiting Spain. Um, should have said that for America. But anyway, aside from that, if you can't tell, I don't really like Americans. Not just they're a bit annoying, aren't they? They're really, really annoying. Um, so yeah, that's how security can change a little bit. Obviously, on a domestic flight, you don't need to go through border force as we call it over here in England. You don't need to go to migration because you stay in the same country. And you only needed a passport just for ID, so they know that it's the person who it's meant to be, as such. Um, Flight duration normally shorter. Obviously in the USA, like I've already said, USA come off what in this video? I'm not sure if that's just me or the actual facts. I think it's a bit of both. Probably more me. Obviously the longest domestic flight, and their domestic flights can be really long, also really short, but really long. And international flights often longer. Obviously, this isn't really true if you put it up to a 12-hour domestic flight. I mean, what the hell? But yeah, they are normally longer. Obviously, not always, if you stay in the same continent and stuff, but. So, yeah, often longer and stuff, but it varies on what flights you take. Cost? Well, domestic flights, no fact, they are normally cheaper because, well, you're going a lot less shorter distance, you're staying in the same country, so you're not paying taxes from all different countries to just fly in. And the flight duration is normally shorter, like I've already said. International flights, though, they are a lot more expensive because you're going a lot longer. You have to pay taxes of all different countries you fly over and land and take off and all of that. That's why they make it really expensive, because the airline's obviously trying to make profit. Why would they be giving you flights for a lot less money, but losing money at the same time? No airline does that, right? Regulations is just, this is more like a country thing in airlines, but regulations is only the country that you've took off and landed in, obviously, because it's the same country, so it's the same country. Although regulations in an international flight are all the countries you've flown over, all the countries that you've taken off in, and all the countries that you've landed in. Obviously, that may sound a bit. The country you've took off and country you've landed in, and all the countries that you've gone over on the way. Plane type, like I've said, normally smaller, like an A320, A319, A321, A318, sometimes A321, and I say sometimes because I'll get onto that in a minute. Bigger planes for an international flight like a 777, 787, A350, A330, and also an A321. A321 not that big, but why I've said A321 is because A321's ELR, I think I've said that right, extra long range. A321's extra long range, if you kind of hear by the name extra long range, they can go transatlantic flights. Transatlantic flights, just like a transatlantic cruise, I've done those. Transatlantic flights, obviously from across the Atlantic, so Canada to England, England to Canada, America to England, America to Spain, America, you get the point, right? Any flights that's across the Atlantic. Boop, boop. Doesn't matter what way it's gone, if it's gone that way, or that way, or that way, it doesn't matter. Any flight that has crossed the Atlantic, gone from Europe to America, North America or South America or something like that, called transatlantic flight. An A321's extra long range can do that. No, your normal A321 probably not. I don't think they can. It's just like JetBlue. They do a flight from JFK to London Heathrow. London Heathrow flight is in the dark. It's a nighttime flight, and New York to London, it's a daytime flight. But that's like irrelevant information, right? If you really care about what time you fly, then I think it's just beautiful flying at any time, right? Anyway, next page. Jeez, 24-minute video. Well, plus just talking about domestic flights and international flights. I mean, that is the most. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be even longer if I don't stop talking. If I carry on talking, right? Duration. Normally less than 3 hours. Obviously, you're going to say, but I should have said at the start, this is going off an English point of view. Being British, that was really British, wasn't it? Being British, duration less than 3 hours normally. I mean, if I was to fly a domestic flight in England, a non-stop domestic flight in England, that was longer than 3 hours, I would actually be impressed. Duration more than 3 hours. A lot more, obviously, Spain to England and stuff like that. Obviously shorter, but you get the point. I mean, normally, I think most of the flights I've done, yeah, they've all been longer than most of them have been longer than 3 hours. Airlines normally for domestic flights, smaller low cost airlines like Loganair, Ryanair, Wizz, EasyJet. I'm gonna say Jet2 and TUI, but I've never seen Jet2 or TUI do a domestic flight. Or Ryanair, actually. I've never seen Ryanair do a domestic flight. Alexa, do Ryanair do domestic flights?
From flightconnections.com. Ryanair serves 5 domestic destinations.
There we go.
234 international destinations.
Well, I didn't ask about the international.
As of March 2025.
Alright, thank you. Oh, that's actually pretty recent. I quite like that one. Normally they give me like 2022. I wonder if TUI has any in domestic. Alexa, does the airline TUI have any domestic flights?
From alternativeairlines.com. The airline operates to over 10 domestic destinations. Putao, Mandalay, Myitkyina, Nianyu, Thandor, Sitwe, Tikilake, Lashio, Davai, Heiho, and Kauthum.
Kauthum and Heiho, I think, are my favourite. Oh, actually. Okay, well, I don't think Alexa got what I was trying to say then. But, okay, yeah. So, normally low-cost airlines, but also these low-cost airlines do fly over Europe and some in Africa. EasyJet fly to Africa, Wizz fly to Africa. There's loads of Wizz branches, like Wizz UK, Wizz here, Wizz there, Wizz everywhere. They whiz around. For international flights, normally bigger airlines, more full service airlines, flag carriers like national flag carriers like BA, American Airlines, Emirates, Etihad, Qatar, Delta, United, Air Canada, Virgin Atlantic, Aer Lingus, Air France, Iberia, Lufthansa, Portugal, LATAM, Azul, Singapore Airlines, JAL, Korean Air China. What do you think about Korean Air's new livery? Alright, that's enough for that. That's just showing off how many airlines I can name like that from all different countries. You should like and subscribe for that, surely, right? I mean, I just make a little time mark of when I should put like the like and subscribe thing that comes up. Yeah, don't matter. That's what I do anyway. So yeah, and then classes, not like classes. Yeah, classes, right? Normally only one or two classes. Normally one or two classes. Normally economy for all these other airlines, and maybe business. On like more bigger airlines like BA, Air France, Lufthansa. I'm gonna stop now. Tap Portugal, Turkish Airlines. That's a new one, Turkish Airlines. You did see that as well, right? The pencil just went poof. Anyway, I think it's flying. Good channel to fly on. So yeah, normally, first and business class. No, not first. Economy and business class. Sometimes business, not normally. So yeah, but normally on the international flight, you get 3 4 class cabins. What I mean by 3 to 4 class cabin is how many classes there are, how many different classes there are, how many different classes you can book. For example, economy. I like to say EP, economy oh no, PE. Oh yeah, see, I've always said EP. I don't know why, like as premium economy, but it should be PE, shouldn't it? So economy, PE, premium economy, business class, and first class. Sometimes airlines will chuck out economy, premium economy. Um, Not all airlines have premium economy, but actually premium economy is the most profitable cabin any airline can have. Not that you care, not that I care. The airlines care. I don't. You probably don't care, but it's a fun fact for you. You know, they're not making money on economy because there's so many, all the blankets for bigger flights, all the blankets, all the food. It's quite, first and business class, all the champagne, all the really expensive seats they have to maintain, and the cabin crew that are paid more because they're dealing with more higher, rich passengers. And economy, premium economy is like the perfect cabin. It's not luxury, so they're not spending loads of money on champagne and really nice seats that they have to maintain. I'm not saying that Emirates really nice and stuff like that, but and then cabin crew they're not paid as much, but they're paid more than economy, but not as much. It's a perfect mix for airlines. That's why some airlines don't have uh economy. Sometimes they just have premium economy and business, or economy, premium economy and business, because it's cheaper. They make more profit, which is at the end of the day what they want. So yeah, so 3 to 4 classes, sometimes even 2. To be honest, I mean, some airlines have like just their planes fitted out in premium economy and business class, or even business class and premium economy, like Norse, TUI, our low, high. What would you class TUI and Norse? Because, like, Norse is like a low cost, aren't they? But TUI's like low, is in between low cost and like full service. Like here. They're like here, aren't they? What do we call that? Like, low full service. Low service airline. Okay, anyway, that's it for today's video. Something just popped up on my screen. That's it for today's video. That's all the notes I've had. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed today's video. Like and subscribe if you want more videos like this, more educational videos like this. And I've still got a few videos to come out that I know of. Obviously, I have the plane spotting one from Heathrow that I haven't put out yet. If you've watched the premiere one, then thank you. I hope you enjoyed it. I know loads of people watched it. And oh yeah, thank you for the like over 1,500 views on one of those shorts. That really made my day. Seeing that, like I don't know what to think. I was like, am I actually on the right channel? And I was. And so yeah, that's really made me happy. And how many subscribers are we on now? Like 80. I want to get to 100 by the end of the year. And you guys can help me with that. 100. I mean, what? We're in. The time of this video is April something, like near the end of April. Right? Wow, I think a third of the way through April. So that's still like 7-ish months, 7 and a bit months to get to 100. So I mean, if we can't do that now, I'm going to be quite upset. But I can't do anything about it. I'm not making 20 more accounts just to subscribe to myself. I've already made one extra. So yeah, I don't want to make 20 more. That would be 21 accounts that I've made just for subscribers. That's not that good, is it? No. So, yeah, please like and subscribe. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Give this a share to all your family and friends and make more people know about the 787 dude planes. 787 dudes. Oh, wait. Let me restart. Give this video a share and share it with all your family and friends and make more. No. Oh my god. Give me a second, right? Like and subscribe if you enjoyed today's video. Give this video a share to all your family and friends and make more people know about the 787 Dude Planes channel. No, that doesn't sound right though. 787 Dude. Make more people know about the 787 Dude channel. It's all about planes and aviation, as I say it all the time. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Please like and subscribe with the notification bell on. And I'm going to have a new, welcome to my channel. Because my other one's 2, nearly probably 3 years old. And that's quite outdated. So I'm going to do a new one quite soon. So you watch it if you want. Really just for new people. For coming to my channel. Just a, hi, this is what my channel's about. The old one's quite outdated. Probably not as true anymore. So, yeah. Okay, well, anyway, I'll leave you there. 36 minutes of video talking about domestic and international flights. I think that's probably the longest video on YouTube to ever be about domestic and international flights. 12 minutes long. I've been destroying slowly a Premier Inn card from London Heathrow. When we checked into plane spotting, we took 2 because we thought we could have 2 cards so I could go plane spotting out and my dad can still get in and out. So we were going to have 2, right? We could only have 1, but we didn't know that. So we took 2 and we just didn't have one back. Because only 1 worked. So we took a 2 and then we got to our room and we had to test it. 1 didn't work, so I just kept it and it's just been destroyed. So sorry, Premier Inn, but you're probably not watching this video anyway. I don't know why you would be. You might have watched my Heathrow one because that was in your hotel, but anyway, hope you enjoyed today's video. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye. Bye. See, that never works because I'm always holding my phone when I cover the camera. So I'm holding my phone so I can't press the turn off button. So I'm just going to go, ooh, goodbye.